everybody. So I am making a video tonight where I'm going to be talking about using a bedtime pass. So a bedtime pass is a technique that we use with kids that are having a hard time going to bed, particularly kids that once you put them to bed are getting up several times and trying to call you back into the room. Sleep is a complicated process, and there are many strategies that need to be utilized for kids that are having a hard time with sleeping, but this is a popular technique that we use for some kids, so I wanted to share it. A bedtime pass is a strategy that you can use with young children, so about ages 3 to 10, who have a hard time going to bed on their own or have a hard time staying in bed once they've been put down. It's best used with children who call out to their parents after they leave the room, saying things like, "Mom, I love you. Can you come back in?" Who might cry or yell, or who might actually get up and get out of bed and leave the room once they've been put down. It's important to note that for kids that are under 2 or over 10, this technique might not work because it's out of the age range. And also it might not be best for kids that have lots of behavior problems at times other than bedtime. And for those children, other things might be needed first before working on the bedtime routine. Using a bedtime pass is a multi-step process, and I'm going to talk through each step. So the first step is that sometime before bedtime, on the night that you're going to start using the bedtime pass, you want to sit down with your child and explain the procedures. So there are some important points to cover. The first is that you want to explain that your child is having some difficulty going to sleep on their own, and you've come up with an idea of how to help. You might say something like, "I know that it's hard for you to go to bed on your own, so I've made up an idea that could help you." You want to explain the strategy, so you might say something like, "You and I are going to make a pass for you to use each and every night. You'll get one pass per night, and after mommy or daddy puts you to bed, you can use this pass for one free trip out of your room for any purpose." The reason has to be short and to the point. For example, if you want one last hug or you have to use the potty, that's fine. But if you use your pass, then you need to give it to mommy or daddy and go straight back to bed. You should emphasize for your child that it needs to be a short, specific reason, so something that would take 5 minutes or less. Explain what should happen after your child uses the pass. So you could say something like, "After you use your pass, you need to go back to bed and stay there for the rest of the night." You and your child should make the pass together. So one easy thing to do is to take like a 3x5 or a 5x7 note card, a thick cardboard cutout about the size of a small photograph or some other kind of material. And if you do use a one single index card, you might want to tape a couple together to make it a little more sturdy. You should allow your child to color on it or write on it, maybe put some stickers on it to kind of make it their own. Just before bed, you want to hand your child the pass and remind him or her of the purpose and follow your typical bedtime routine, and then you want to leave the room. If your child requests to use the pass, then allow this to happen and you just take the bedtime pass. Send your child back to bed, reminding them that it's now time for them to stay in bed and be quiet. If your child calls out after they use the pass, you want to ignore this behavior. So if he or she escalates, you want to continue to try to ignore the behavior and let them learn how to self-regulate and put themselves back to sleep. If your child comes out of the room after using the pass, my suggestion to begin with is that you physically guide him or her back into bed with minimal or no interaction. For the first few nights that you're using the pass, remind your child of the rules of using the bedtime pass, give him or her the pass, and follow the same routine. Increasing the success of the pass can be done in a couple ways. For many children, simply using the pass will be effective. It'll be exciting, it puts some structure around the routine, and it will decrease bedtime behavior problems and them waking up. Of course, you want to verbally praise your child for using the pass and going to bed like you asked them to do. For some children, the pass may result in some improvement, but not as much as you'd hoped for. And in this situation, you might need to add an extra incentive for using the pass. So some examples of that might include letting your child pick his or her breakfast within reason, of course, on mornings after not having had any bedtime problems aside from using the pass or using the bedtime pass correctly. You might offer an afternoon or after school treat when your child didn't call out or leave the room at all. Provide an opportunity for a child to pick out a small prize or a treat each morning that there was no resistance. And for older children, you can make the reward more long-term. Like if they did it for 3 nights, you might want to chart their success with that, and they could perhaps stay up later on Friday if there was no or minimal bedtime resistance during the week leading up to that Friday evening. So if you're offering incentives, you want to make sure that your child only gets them when there's little to no bedtime resistance. And you might also think about providing more rewards at first and then decreasing the rewards over time. So these are just some helpful tips to get you started on using a bedtime pass. Lots of the families that I've worked with have found this technique effective, and so I hope it's helpful for you. I know sleep is a really common struggle that a lot of parents face, and I'll have a blog post up really soon about the various approaches that work. Like most things with kids, it's not a one-size-fits-all, and there's more than one way to do something. It's about finding the technique that's going to work for your family and meeting your family's goals regarding bedtime and sleep for your child. So I hope this was helpful, and I'll see you guys soon. Bye.